Welcome back to my channel.
In this video, we are going to see how to install and configure DHCP services in Windows Server. Also, we will verify all our DHCP clients can receive IP addresses from the DHCP server. For this demo, I am going to use this topology. In this Windows Server, I am going to configure and install DHCP services. Also, I'm using two Windows PC and one Linux PC. These are the DHCP clients. It will automatically receive the IP addresses from the DHCP server. I have used RDP console to open my Windows server. So I'll go and open the Windows server first. As a first step, we have to install DHCP services in the Windows server. Before installing DHCP services, we have to configure the static IP address to the DHCP server. For that, I'll open the command prompt now. We will check. I already configured the IP address, but we'll check what is the IP address. IP config. Here we can see my configured IP address is 192.168.50.10. Suppose if you want to know how to configure static IP address, use this command ncpa.cpl so that it will open the network settings. This first adapter, I'll right click and open the properties and select IPv4 here and click on the properties. Here you can see the IP address already configured. Static IP address I have already configured 192.168.50.10. Here you can configure the static IP address. I close for now. Next, we have to install the DHCP services. For that, we have to open the server manager. We can type from the command prompt server manager. We'll open the server manager. From the dashboard, we have to click the add roles and features. Click next from here. Role-based or feature-based installation, click next. Click next. And we have to select the DHCP server from the list, roles list. Now we have to add features, click add features. Click next. Click next. But two things to note. One, we should have the static IP address should be configured on the computer. The next one, we should plan our subnets and scopes and exclusions. Before installing, we have to plan these things. Which subnet we are going to configure the DHCP pool, and the range of scope is the range of IP address, and exclusion, what are the IP address we have to exclude from the list. Okay, now I have already planned. I'll show it to you. Yeah, here you can see we have to configure the scope from the range of DHCP server IP address 192.168.50.10. So the scope should be 192.168.50.0/24. I have selected the 24-bit subnet mask, and the IP address range I'm going to configure from 100 to 200, and we have to select IP other parameters in the DHCP pool. The default router I'm going to configure 50.1, and DNS server I'm going to configure 50.2. Even though it is not available in my local area network, but for the demo sake, I'm going to configure, and I am going to exclude the following addresses from 100 to 110. First 10 addresses from the range of IP address. Now I'll go to the server. Click next. Now click install. It is installing. It will take some time. Now the installation is completed. I'll close this window. Next up, we have to configure the DHCP services. For that, you can go to the notification. Here you can see complete DHCP configurations. You can click from here, or you can go to command prompt. You can type DHCP mgmt.msc. It will open the console. It took some time to open the console. And click here, server. Here you can see the IPv4. Click the IPv4. Here you can see in the right side window, we have to add a scope now. To add a scope, on the action menu, click new scope. Otherwise, you can click from here, click on the IPv4, select new scope. The wizard will open. Click next. Here we have to give the scope name. You can give anything. I'll give my office description. This is for HR department. Click next. Now we have to give the IP address range. As we have already seen, I have to give the IP address starting range 192.168.50.100. From 100 I am starting, and 192.168. End IP address is 168.50.200. From 100 to 200, I have selected the range, and the subnet length I am going to use. Here you can see 24 default subnet length. I am going to use 250.255, 255.0. Click next. Next, add exclusions and delay. Here, exclusion address we have to choose. I'm going to use first 10 IP address. I'm going to reserve for other purposes. In future, I can use that for assigning any static IP address or other purposes. So select 192.168.50.100 to 192.168.50.110. First 10 IP addresses. I'll add this and click next. Next, lease duration. Lease duration, I will keep it as default. Here it is showing 8 days. Based on your requirement, you can change it as some days or hours or minutes. I'll click for now. And DHCP options. Do you want to configure the DHCP options for the scope now? Yes, I want to configure. Click next. First is the router default gateway. Default gateway, I'm going to give 168.50.1. I don't know any default gateway in my topology, but for the demo sake, I'm adding this. Add. And next domain name and DNS servers. We have to choose the DNS servers. Domain name for the demo sake, I'll give ITIdeas.com. This is my YouTube channel. And DNS server, if you have in your local area network, you have to give the IP address. But I don't have any DNS server in my local area. For the demo sake, I'll assign 168.50.2. I'll add that. It is validating. It is saying the IP address is not a valid DNS address. Do you still want to add it? I'm going to add it for the demo purpose. Click yes. I'll delete this one 8.8. That's the default one I already added. Remove. And click next. Win server, that is based on net bias that we are not going to add here. Click next. Yes, I want. Do you want to activate the scope now? Yes, we are going to activate now. Click next. Now we have successfully completed the new scope wizard. I'll click finish now. Now here you can see now new scope is created. Scope you can see here. Address pool. Address pool we already configured 50.100 to 50.200 and the excluded address range is 100 to 110. Whatever we have already configured, it is showing here. And the scope options also we can see from here. Our DNS servers and router and domain name is showing from here. Now we have successfully configured the DHCP services in our Windows server. Okay, next we will verify whether all our client PCs can receive the IP address from our DHCP server. First, I will go to the Linux PC. I'll open the Linux PC now. Here we'll give the IP address command. Here you can check it received the IP address from our DHCP server. This is the first IP address because in this Linux PC, it is by default DHCP address configured. So it received the IP address from our DHCP server. This is the first IP address because first 10 IP addresses we have excluded from the range 100 to 110. So it assigned 111 to the Linux PC. Okay, next we will go to other Windows PC and check. Okay, now I will open the Windows PC now. We'll go to this PC, Windows 2. Windows 2 I have opened. I already assigned the static IP address to this computer. You can check here. IP config. Here you can check. I already assigned the static IP address. Now I'm going to change it as automatic IP address. So I'll go to ncpa.cpl. It will open the network settings. I'll right click from here, properties. I'll choose the IPv4 and properties. Here instead of static IP address, I'll change it to obtain an IP address automatically. I'll click it here. I'll click OK now. I'll close now. Now we will check here once again. IP config. Here you can see it assigned the IP addresses from the next IP address it assigned to this Windows computer, that is 112. And default gateway also you can check from here, and domain name we have given ITIdeas.com. If you want to see the detailed configuration, that's all. We'll give the detailed configuration. Here you can see our IP address and DHCP server we have configured and DNS server and all other details we have configured. It is showing. Okay, now I'll go to the next Windows PC. Windows 4, Windows 3. I'll open the command prompt. I'll check the IP config. The static IP address. I'll change it to automatic address. Right click from here and properties. IPv4 properties. I'll change from static to automatic. Even DNS also. I'll click OK for now. I'll close it now. And once again, I'll go to command prompt. I'll type IP config. /all so that you will view the detailed IP configuration. Here we can see it received the IP address from the DHCP, next IP address from the DHCP server, third IP address 113, and it received the default gateway detail and DHCP server, whatever we have configured, and the domain name also we can see it from here. Now we have successfully installed and configured DHCP services in Windows Server. Also, we have verified from the DHCP client PCs whether it can receive IP addresses dynamically from the DHCP server. That's all for today.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.